Welcome to the first monthly wrap-up of 2025. Can you believe it? January's already over and we're moving into February. We're moving right along. Let's not waste any time getting through this year. Let's not waste any time getting to the video. Like last time with this new wrap-up situation that I'm kind of working my way through, we're going to talk about the books that I did not actually get a dedicated book review out for, and we're also going to do a mini book haul for anything that may have been sent to me throughout the month of January. Starting with the books that I've read, it was The Bone Clocks, Dracula, Ashes of Man, House of Chains. At least that's what was on the TBR for this month, but I finished them early, mainly because I got sick and I had to stay in bed for several days. Legit, I don't think I got out of bed for 3 or 4 days. I was down, man. But I used that time to just tear through House of Chains, which by the way, fucking amazing. But it sped that up and I finished that way ahead of schedule. That video actually came out this week, a whole week ahead of schedule. It wasn't supposed to come out till next week, but that gave me time to slip in a little book called The City and the City, which was not on my TBR for this month. Actually, I haven't finished it. I'm only on page 125 or something like that. I just finished part 1, and there's part 2 and part 3. So we'll talk about it a little bit, even though I haven't finished it. So this one, of course, House of Chains video is already out. Even if it wasn't, we wouldn't be talking about it. Because, whatever I'm trying to say. Oh, because it gets this dedicated video because it's Malazan. Then, of course, Dracula got its video. And Bone Clocks got its video. That leaves Ashes of Man and the City and the City. Ashes of Man is book 5 in the Sun Eater series. It'll actually be the first Sun Eater book that didn't get its own dedicated video, and that's okay. They actually do pretty absolutely god awful for some reason on my channel, which is fine. It's okay. But I put those up and literally I'll be lucky to get 500 views on one of those book reviews, which is interesting because other channels put up a Sun Eater video and it just does gangbusters for their view count. I put one up, nobody checks it out. So I don't understand how this works, because what works for one channel clearly doesn't work for other channels. But then I'll put up something like a Gorman Gas video and it'll get 20-something thousand views. And fuck if I understand what to put up and post and talk about, or when or where or how. Or anyway, that's not the point. We're here to talk about Ashes of Man. Ashes of Man is book 5 in, like I said, the Sun Eater series, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's so good. This series is phenomenal. It is head and shoulders above other space opera series out there. The Expanse has got nothing on this series. The Expanse is fine. I'm not saying that it's a bad series. I'm just saying this is peak space opera, peak epic, just fun as far as reading is concerned. It's insane. And actually, I will say this book was really good. And there's a huge, it just continues that momentum that was from the Kingdoms of Death, which, of course, this and Kingdoms of Death were originally one book. And they were broken in half because it just got too long. And I will say that if it had been left as one book and just released as an 1,100-page, massive thing, then this would be, hands down, by far, the best Sun Eater book. Demon in White would not even be able to hold a candle to this book if it would have been released as one. The arc and the chain of events that goes from Kingdoms of Death to the end of this, if that had been one book, fuck me, just would have insane. Like I said, nobody would even be talking about Demon in White right now. It would not even be a part of the conversation. Anyway, so this is just, like I said, this continuing that arc and that the all the things that happened in Kingdoms of Death, and then they all come to kind of a fruition, kind of a different kind of a head in the end of this. There is a massive event that happens at the end of this, which I've kind of been waiting for, just in the sense that it's something that in a series of this kind of length, you expect this to happen, especially with the way certain characters are, and, you know, say lifespans and the sheer amount of time that this is going to have to take up, and where you have this big, strong feeling where it's ultimately going to go for, you know, Hadrian himself. So this big event happens in this book, and it was just as terrible and just as hard to get through as I expected it to be. And it was handled with, and if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And it was handled with just as much attention and care and finesse that I really expected Christopher to come at it with, especially after reading enough of his books to, at this point, to get an idea of just how tactful he would have been when he approached it. He absolutely was. He has grown as an author just from The Empire of Silence just to this one. Really, really good. It was so good. I have not been as excited to start the next book in the Sun Eater series as I was when I finished this one. This one was the one that I really just wanted to kind of go straight into the Disquiet Gods when I was done with it, because it was just, it's kind of like, it's not necessarily a cliffhanger, but where it leaves you at the end of it, I really was like, now I want to know where we're going next. Like, legit, hardcore, you know? So, just an absolute wonderful book. I'm going to let it sit right about the same as the last one, and that's going to be a 9 out of 10, because you know what? This is just that good. It's that much fun. It's just hard to put into words just how much fun I'm having with that series and how enjoyable it is. Now, moving on to The City, and The City by China Mieville. This is, I don't even know what to say about this. This is a murder mystery that's taking place within a city, which also is overlapped by another city. They share the exact same chunk of land. And it's China Mieville. So the writing is superb. He has just, the way he writes is so sophisticated, and it's so smart, and it's so slick, and then it's got this little streak of humor that runs through. I really like China's writing. It is fabulous, and he's like the new weird is how his work is labeled. So I was expecting, when I heard the premise, it's like the city and the city, and they overlap and they share the same like space, you know? So I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like, okay, he's weird. He does weird stuff. The only other thing I've ever read by him is Perdido Street Station. So I'm trying to think how he's going to pull this off. And I'm thinking of something weird, like they exist in the same spot, but like maybe in different dimensions, and you have to travel from one dimension to the next to get from one city to the other city because they occupy the same space. No, it's literally like they're in the same spot. Like the roads literally cross over each other. The roads are the same roads. The cars will be driving past each other, but one car is in one city, the other car is in the other city, and then it's like you have to unsee the other people because they're not in your city, they're in the other city. You'll like literally be walking past it. It's weird. It's like the fact that they're not even in different dimensions, they're literally like in the same dimension on the same street, is even weirder than trying to do like some weird multi-dimensional thing. It's strange. Then like you're not allowed to go for, like, you could jump out a window and accidentally end up in the other city, but now you're in breach, and now you will be arrested because you've breached the. It's weird. Anyway, I don't even fully understand how this whole, like, getting from one, like, you have to go through customs just get from one city to the next, even though you're technically on the same road as the other city. figure that shit out. Anyway, so but this is like a murder mystery, and this is we're following a cop, and he's trying to hand, at the point that I'm at, he's trying to hand off the case to Breach, which is like this special forces kind of another department that can handle crimes that cross between the two cities, because he's just a cop that functions inside of Beijing, and Alcoma has its own police force, but then there's the Breach, which is the force that can kind of investigate both at the same time. And he's trying to hand it off, and we're, it doesn't look, it looks like he might not be able to hand it off, and he's going to have to keep this case, and he's going to have to do it himself and figure out exactly what's going on. And it's just, like I said, I've only finished part 1, and there's part 2 and 3 left to go. I think I'll be fine. I've got 3 whole days to finish the book, and it's only like a 300-page book, so I've got 100 and some pages left. I can finish that in 3 days. But I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know what I would rate it at the end of the day, but I can tell you that it so far is fabulous, and it's just strange, and I'm enjoying every last bit of it. But then again, China just has a way with writing. He has a way with language. He's so smart. It feels so sophisticated. And then he's just got this sense of humor that goes through the center of everything that he does. Conversations will just have me chuckling as I read through them. I don't know. I love it. I love his writing, and I've only read 1.5 books so far. Anyway, so that was the month of January. Actually, there is one other thing that I didn't read for the month of January, and that would be the Patreon pick, which is, or was, 20th Century Boys. That was supposed to be this week's video, and then that would have pushed Malazan to next week. But this is also something that was sent to me by one of my patrons. Actually, this was sent to me by the Saiyan, formerly known as Kakarot, who is also the one who nominated it to be the Patreon pick. When it won the Patreon pick, he offered to send them to me. And I said, okay, yeah, absolutely. And then I'll read them, and then I'll review them and all of that fun stuff. Well, something happened, and they didn't get delivered. And I think the weather had something to do with it, because it's been snowing like crazy here in the Midwest. And then it was failure to deliver. Long story short, I literally just got them out of the P.O. box this morning. So that didn't happen, and I'll just read that next month. It's okay. But I do want to say thank you to the Saiyan, formerly known as Kakarot. Not only thank you for nominating them to be the Patreon pick, but also sending them to me. So, I mean, that's just, I would have bought them, but I don't have to now, because he's so stupendously generous enough to send them to me. So thank you to you, Kakarot. Also, I'll just read these next month. I'll just have like 2 Patreon picks for the month of February. It's okay. It's not a big deal. I'll be fine. Trust me. Then I also had this wonderful package show up in the mail, and it was a box of Barker, and it is the Hellbound Heart, the In the Flesh, and also the Inhuman Condition. This also came with a little notebook, which actually has some artwork by Clive Barker on the cover, which I will 100% use. We'll get that in a second, because like I legit here, I have my notepad that never leaves this desk. Well, almost never leaves this desk, where I come up with my ideas for videos and lists, and I just take general notes. This is my YouTube notebook. And then I have my other notebook that goes in my work bag that I take back and forth to work with me, so I can take notes if I have ideas, or I need to just take generalized notes while I'm on my breaks or something. I might brainstorm while I'm there. So I'm like forever somewhere with a notebook. And this one is shockingly low on paper. So I will this will legit become my next YouTube like brainstorm notepad, like legit. Anyway, so this all came from a lady named Suzanne. She sent me a Valentine's Day card. Yes, happy Valentine's Day. And she also wrote me like a whole novel here. So we're going to go through it. And it says, Dear John, apologies for the Valentine's Day card and the lack of anthrax, but it seems I have run out of blank note cards and anthrax, and only have those of the V-Day and B-Day varieties, since I don't know when your birth B-Day is, and I'm also a bit of a procrastinator. You'll likely receive this sometime in February. Hopefully you aren't too offended. I'm not offended, by the way. I've enclosed some material for your collection. You've mentioned a few times since I've become a subscriber that you have not read, nor do you own The Hellbound Heart. I do not own it. This is correct. But I have actually, eventually I did just go ahead and download it as an audiobook, and I did consume it that way. So I have read The Hellbound Heart. With any luck, you haven't received 100 copies already. If so, donate this to a good home. I have not received any copies, and I will be donating it to a good home right back there on the shelf. I've also included copies of In the Flesh and The Inhuman Condition. You haven't mentioned these before that I have heard of. No, I have not. And so I'm guessing maybe you haven't read these either. While I love Mr. Barker, his novels aren't always an easy read, with the exception of The Damnation Game, I agree, and Thief of Always and Weave World. I much prefer his short stories over his novels. Books of Blood are phenomenal. I'll take your word for it. I'm also a big fan of his artwork. About a year ago, I purchased a bunch of stuff from his website, included in that purchase were a couple of notebooks. As I was searching in vain for a blank note card and anthrax, I found one still sealed and unspoiled. I'm including that too, which I've already said I will get good use out of. I hope this box of Barker finds you well. Keep up the entertaining content, and please continue to very gently toss your books on the floor. That should tell you who had the audacity to send you this package without any anthrax or a glitter bomb. Cheers, Suzanne. She mentions this because she made a comment in one of my videos that she dies a little inside every time I throw books onto the floor. To put into words just how I love, and I think I said something stupid like, if it makes you feel any better, I throw them gently. Anyway, P.S. I wasn't actually sure what your first name was, but I didn't think, dear, I don't know your first name was great. Way to start a note. So being that weirdo that I am, I went back to your very first video hoping to find the answer. I found exactly what I was looking for, and I also found your man bun. Thank you. That is correct. I used to have a man bun, and yeah, I used to introduce myself in my videos like I would even introduce the kids when we played video games, like, you know, as, hello, my name is John Rammel, and I just kind of stopped saying that. So, you know, good luck figuring out my real name other than the fact that I just told you. Thank you so very much, Suzanne. Thank you for the books. I love them so much. And yes, I used to have a man bun. I actually had long hair from the time that I was like a teenager all the way up until I was in my late 30s. I probably would still have long hair if it weren't, you know, you get old and stuff starts to get thinner, like your hair gets a little bit thinner. It doesn't look good when it's long anymore. It just doesn't look right anymore. And I'll be damned if I'm going to be that old man that's got like the bald spot here and still pulling his hair back up into some little skinny ponytail that's about that big around because he can't give up the fact that he's, you know, not 20 anymore and like doesn't stay the same. Like, I wasn't going to be that guy. You know what guy I'm talking about. So anyway, so I cut it all off. Eventually, if it gets too much thinner, I'll just get rid of it entirely and I'll start wearing like crazy hats or something. I'll be like, you'll get me like a big ass fedora or something and I'll rock that. Watch me. I swear I'll do it. Anyway, what was I saying? Anyway, thank you so much to Suzanne. Thank you so much to the Saiyan formerly known as Kakarot. By no means does anybody ever need to send me anything. I don't want to give off that impression ever. I only show these in these videos because I really just want to have a way of showing my appreciation for somebody who might happen to send me something. As always, everybody, the link for my Patreon's in the description below. The link for my Discord's in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.